Hey, what's going on? Happy Sunday. I am with Mike from MVGM Consulting. Mike, and of course, my partner in crime, Joe Covello of Sanico USA, which is has a lot of exciting stuff. And that's the name of the podcast called Chasing Comfort, which we're all doing. And Joe, I'm going to get back to you, but I just want to hear what Mike is up to and what's going on in his world during this whole pandemic.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world. I know you and Joe have been talking, and that's what inspired us to get on the podcast with you and start this whole thing and see how different industries are going to welcome back their clients and their customers. And number one, we all agreed, was the restaurant business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, local independent restaurants, are the backbone of our communities. Tourism, redevelopment, every corner of the U.S. Restaurants directly employ over 11 million people across the country, and hundreds of millions of workers, whether it be, supply and delivery chain, growers, packers, all the way down to, supplies, linens, for instance. The restaurants contribute $1 trillion to our economy. So right now, we're closed. For a lot of people, it's a problem for their business. And for the restaurants, it's a huge problem as well. And especially the amount of the impact that it has on the country in a whole. So what we're trying to do, obviously, is, as a restaurateur and as somebody who consults for restaurants and hospitality, just aid people in getting what they need to try to get them reopened, to try to allow them to think about how to do that and where to start.
Well, welcome, Joe Covello.
How you doing, guys? Yeah, Mike, and glad you're here. But like with every business, what Rob and I are finding out, there's one similarity, and the similarity is the name of this podcast. I mean, we're chasing comfort. How do we get people comfortable to start opening up these restaurants and getting back into the doors and bringing the business that you guys need and need to make up? That's pretty much the hot topic in every business right now. And I do know the restaurant business is such a tremendous business. That's why you're here talking to us tonight first. I do think the impact is just tremendous. But, I do also believe that now is the time to grow your business better than it ever has been. There's probably things that should have been done that just weren't being done, procedures that were just overlooked. And I think now's the time to enforce them, and not only enforce them, brag about it and tell the public, hey, we want to stay in business and this is what we're doing. And I want you and your family and your children and your wife, and your husband, and I want you here in my establishment. And I want to have you for dinner. I want you to have your events here. And I think now's the time to do that. What's your thoughts? What are you doing with your people?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's, everyone's kind of waiting on the day that we can get back to work. So once we do that, restaurateurs and owners and workers all the way down to the back of the house, employees are ready and willing and able to come back to work. It's how to do it safely, how to do it so that the customers who are coming to the door feel comfortable and safe. So there's a lot of things that go into it in the restaurant business. First, the financial end of it, of course, how to get the funds to do that, which is what the hot topic is for everyone, especially the restaurant business. And now coming up soon, how can we open up our doors and get customers back in feeling comfortable? And the first thing that goes into that is how to do it safely. And, everyone is looking for the answer on how to do it safely. And most restaurateurs and most restaurants are going to have a good way at it. Others are not. If you fall back into suit on opening your restaurant, not really caring about the sanitary issues and the cleanliness of your place, and maybe not so much about what people think about the place when they walk in. We all know those places, we visited them. You're going to have a really tough time getting back on your feet. So I think everyone has to really take a step back and understand that things have changed. And now it's time, as you said before, to get customers to feel comfortable about coming back. And I think once we do that in a responsible manner, we can come back stronger than ever and be better than we were before. with these measures in place, not only for our customers. And I know I said that before. I mean, we have to take responsibility for our staff members as well, and making sure that they're feeling comfortable coming to work, making sure that they know that they're not going to get sick when they come there, and they're not expected to come in when they're sick, and just being attuned to all these different moving parts as we move forward when this pandemic kind of tails out. So, and then moving forward in the future as well, we have to be conscious of keeping up with these things. And so I think you're right, Joe. I think we're going to be better, come back better than ever. But the game has changed, and everyone needs to understand that they have a responsibility, a greater responsibility for the health and well-being of the public and their employees.
Sure. So, Mike, are you putting together plans right now within your consulting company, trying to help, mitigate these new ways, or this new? I mean, this is the brand new way we're doing things.
Yes, absolutely, Joe. I mean, we're putting together different plans. First set of plans that customers are asking for are finances and financial goals. What everyone is talking about, not only in the restaurant business, is this PPP. How do I get money, and how do I get it to be forgiven? Another thing is loans from the SBA by way of the EIDL. And then how do I get employees to come back off unemployment? And how do I maintain finances moving forward after we open? And what do I do with a loan on my balance sheet now? How do I monetize that correctly? So that's step one. Step two is just the phasing of reopening, all the different phases that it'll take to reopen the restaurant and reassure, again, customers' comfort and their trust in your restaurant. So putting together plans for that as well. Also, Joe, safety actions, putting together safety action plans, and just giving restaurants, continued support moving forward and how to do that. Once I have all these things in place, once I have the finances and I'm comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with the safety actions, what do I do next? Now I have customers coming in. I don't have as many customers, but how do I continue to put money in the register enough for me to sustain my business? How can I put these measures in place, and where do I go from here? So I'm helping with a lot of different things, putting together a lot of plans for that.
Sure. What are you seeing? I mean, you mentioned PPP. I'm hearing in your industry, it's going to be a challenge getting back these employees. I mean, the PPP is supposed to help bring these employees back, but they're doing so well on unemployment that they may not want to come back for a little while.
That's right. I mean, those who have received unemployment and who have received more than they were making at the restaurant are going to have a hard time getting them back. I mean, look, it sometimes it's difficult even to get employees to come to work, period, especially in the summertime. A lot of students, for instance, this is not their full-time career job, at least in the big cities. Other cities, it is, more of a full-time career thing, but a lot of areas it isn't. So to get them to even come to work is difficult. So getting them to come back is that forgivable instance that people are looking for. You take out this PPP loan, and now how do I not pay it back? How does the whole thing become forgiven? Well, that is definitely a challenge, and getting them off unemployment is definitely something that's been talked about a lot.
That's the plan, right? I mean, you want them to come back, and I guess doing that, I mean, we do, or you do, or it's, the employer does have to provide a good work environment to want to come back. I know, like you said, some of them are students, and you know what? You're probably going to hear a lot of parents say, "Don't worry about it. You don't have to go to work this summer. Let this pass."
Sure.
Some of the things you're doing, are going to have to be expressed to their parents, saying, "Hey, your kid is safe here. We are doing this and we're doing that, and they are in a good, safe environment."
Yeah, I mean, people are going to be looking for that. They want to know that you have dotted all I's and crossed all T's to make sure that the restaurant is safe and the environment is safe, and customers as well. I mean, that's how you're going to get people to come back to your place, to make sure that, they need to know, they need to regain trust, not only regain trust in your restaurant, but just regain trust going out, period. I mean, people don't want to go to the grocery store. People don't, I mean, you guys see it. I mean, it's everywhere, masks and gloves and 6 feet and caution tape and cones, and it's very overwhelming for anybody. So, a big majority of people might not ever want to dine. They might say now that they might not ever want to dine out again. So safety of the staff, utmost importance. Convincing them and letting them know that you've done it all to make sure they're working in a safe and comfortable environment and that they won't get sick when they come to work, also a challenge. And then if they are sick, that, letting them know that you can't come to work while you're sick. I mean, we all have been in a situation where we've had an employee come to work and they've had a little bit of a cold, or they might have been sick, or they might feel like they're coming down with something. You can't do that anymore. I mean, we have to be cautious of that too. So that also eliminates and makes things a little bit more tricky. So there's a lot of hurdles and there's a lot of things to think about when we're reopening and when we're gearing towards that reopen date.
You know what that date is yet, Mike?
Say it again, Rob.
You know what that date is?
No, the date, I mean, some states have already reopened, and for the tri-state area, we don't know yet.
Do you consult outside the area, or is it all New York?
I consult everywhere. I specialize in the tri-state area, but I consult everywhere.
Right. And have you ever imagined consulting has completely changed, I'm sure, for you.
I think the focus is gearing away from, I need to get money. How do I sustain my business? Right. To how do I keep people safe? So I think that there is a bridge that is people are starting to cross that bridge now. So yes, people are starting to ask those questions.
But the consulting on a whole is all COVID related now. It's not like you had,
That's correct.
Right.
Totally COVID related. Everyone's focus is on those specific things that I outlined before, finances first, and now tailing into the safety, which is amazing. Sanico is right at the forefront of that. That's huge for restaurants and for all businesses to be able to have that comfortability and to know that there are companies out there that can help.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of work. We're also talking to a lot of restaurants, Mike. We're doing, the general disinfecting. They're putting plans together for that. Every restaurant that I've talked to wants to put a temping station in there where they want to temp the employees. Some restaurants are talking about wanting to temp their customers. There's mixed reviews on that. I think you and I have also talked about that. It's probably not a logical thing in the long run, but Who knows? I mean, some restaurants are going to take that measure. They're going to stand with it. They're going to believe in it, and they're going to tell people to go away that don't want to follow some of their measures that they feel are keeping their customers safe. Not only their customers. I mean, there's an owner behind the restaurant. He doesn't want to get sick either. His wife doesn't want to get sick. The husband, the kids, their family just doesn't want that person sick. So whatever measures are put in place are not only to protect the customers, the staff, it's that person as well. I mean, I know in my office where I'm at all day long, I have measures in place. I do have people around me, but we have measures in place. I don't want to be sick. So yeah, you put these things in place in hopes that they're going to really pan out and work.
I didn't get Mike's opinion on the customer side of it, taking temperatures. I didn't hear that conversation. I'd like to hear your opinion, Mike.
Joe and I talked about what the perception will be when you walk into a restaurant and somebody's shooting a laser gun at your head. People might not want to do that. They might not feel comfortable doing that. So they might opt out and not want that, or to sign a waiver. For instance, I know some folks overseas are doing that. Signing a waiver.
The restaurant of responsibility.
It's exactly. It's taking the responsibility away from the restaurant that says, look, we are doing our due diligence to make sure that our guests that come in are not sick. They have signed all these waiver forms and proving that that they're not sick. And we also have taken their temperatures, so we know that we're safe. But as you know, with COVID-19, you can be asymptomatic. You cannot have a fever. You could just be transmitting the virus without knowing it. So there's different schools of thought on that, and the customers who come in are attuned to this as well. So they, people might be for it or might be against it, and owners that I've spoken to, the large majority of it are not for it. They have been against taking customers' temperatures when they come in.
What about employees?
Employees, the large majority of them said that they should be doing that.
as a consumer, I'm all for it. I mean, I know I do hear a lot of people aren't, but I don't see the big deal in it. You know, if I'm taking my kids out to a restaurant, I don't see a big deal. I mean,
And this
Big
puts
Brother.
the employees at risk, right?
What was that, Rob?
Employees are at risk now.
Yeah, everyone's at risk. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
For the employees, I think that's a no-brainer. I think you need to make sure that you're spot checking, temperature reading your employees to make sure that they're not ill. I mean, they are serving the public. They are in close proximity to one another. You know, they're touching things in the host and waitress station that others touch. I mean, it's just everywhere in the front of the house, and it's the same in the back of the house. I mean, we've all gone to restaurants. You see, if you look in an open kitchen, you see what goes on. You know, you can see what people are doing. They're close together. They're touching things. They can't be sick while they're doing these things. They're putting the public, themselves, and their coworkers at risk. So this is an importance. It should be, in my opinion, it should be mandated for restaurants to have their employees tested, temperature read, to make sure that they are not sick prior to serving the public.
I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, it's just, yeah. I can't believe it's not mandated yet. Going back to waiters and waitresses, what are we going to look at? What are we going to see when we go back? I mean, are they going to be all PPP'd out?
I think you're going to see a lot of huge changes, huge differences. One, in the way your restaurant looks when you go there.
Right.
Because tables are going to be spaced out. If tables are not removed, there'll be red X's or X's on tables where you can and cannot sit. Okay. In some places, you might not even have one client I'm working with, not going to even see a regular menu where you would have a fold-out menu before. Now there is a board, and you read the board, and you go up to the counter, and you place your order with the chef, basically, or an order taker that's behind the counter, and then you sit down and someone brings your food to you. So there is a limit to the amount of interaction that you have with waitresses or waiters. So other people are going no cash, completely cashless, no touch, you know, so you'll have an app on your phone that you could load up. And there's plenty of companies out there that are doing this now. The app links with the host or the online reservation system that tells the host of that restaurant that you're coming in. And then you have the ability to load up your app with an amount of money that is used for dining at that restaurant. And when you leave, you just walk out and your bill, whatever that bill is on your phone. It's paid for, and then you leave a tip. You could be in a cab on the way home and do this. So another way to have a touchless environment, so that you're not touching a pen, you're not touching a guest presenter, you know, it's completely free of germs, or trying to get as many things streamlined as possible so that you can remain safe. So there's going to be a lot of big changes. I mean, look at the changes that you see right now when you go to the local pizza place. I think we talked about this, Joe. Local pizza place in town by me, you know, they have, you know, cones separating a distance apart. They have caution tape, like I mentioned before, everywhere. It looks crazy, but it's necessary. Everyone's in masks and gloves. That's the norm right now. So in Tennessee, they're open for business. Restaurants are open, but waitresses are wearing masks and gloves, and bartenders and waiters as well, and all back of house. So you're going to see that.
Yeah, there is a change already, you know. That's hopefully, I mean, Rob and I, we talk every night, and we have a session that we do, we call the Think Box, right? And we just talk about this stuff for hours. Hearing about this cashless pay system is new to me. I didn't hear about that, you know. I mean, Rob and I were talking about, you know, should the restaurants just be handing a pen away every time you sign the bill, you know, just thinking out of the box. But I do love what you're saying with this app. I mean, it sounds great before COVID. I mean, now it's like it's pretty neat.
Well, it allows people to now, you know, the silver lining here is people are going to start paying more attention to things like this and thinking outside the box. It'll streamline a lot of different things, the payment end of it as well. You know, I was working with a customer, and they were talking about a buzzer system. yeah, well, we're going to, customers are going to come and approach the counter, and we're going to hand them a buzzer. And then now that's how they'll know when the food comes back. I said, you can't, you're not going to be able to do that because people aren't going to want to touch the buzzer, just like they don't want to touch a pen.
It's like the gas station bathroom key now.
That's right. That's right. You don't want to touch that. Forget it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
I'm sure we're probably going to see an uptick in all these apps then. I'm sure there's going to be a buzzer app. I'm sure there's going to be all these apps coming out to help address this. And that's great that we're in this world of all these apps today, It's going to
totally.
help.
There are some tools that are available on your local reservation system that allow you to activate things like this that restaurants aren't really taking advantage of, like a message to your cell phone when things are ready. And I think that you're going to see a change in the current reservation systems. Like a lot of people use Open Table.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be, yeah, right. So I think they have a lot of things in their apps as well and in their platform. And I think that some things are being underutilized by restaurants that'll be utilized a little bit more. But this is another thing that I can that I can guide on as well as restaurants begin to reopen. A lot of restaurateurs don't know these things. They don't know they're out there. They don't know what to do or how to handle it. And I feel good and excited to get restaurants back open or to aid and assist in that. Restaurant industry is so resilient. We're going to bounce back from this. It's going to change. It's going to be totally different. And it's going to be different for a long time going in the future, but we're going to come back stronger than ever. And, I'm happy that we have some good people behind us that can get us to that next level.
I totally agree. It is going to change on many levels. Do you think most of these restaurants now have to have a pickup and delivery part or aspect of their business that they didn't have before?
I don't think curbside delivery is going to go away for a lot of businesses, not only restaurants. And I think that you're going to have that sort of some sort of an aspect of that in your business where people they want your food at your restaurant. They don't want to deal with going in. They understand that you're safe and that you're clean and they're totally with you on that, but they're just going to take a pass and they just want their food to be delivered to them. They want to drive up and have their food. So I don't think we can get rid of that. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It doesn't really take much to do that, as a lot of restaurants are understanding. It's a total change right now. It's the only revenue driver that restaurants have currently that are closed, for that matter, is this curbside pickup or limiting the amount of people that can be in your establishment to pick up. But I don't think it's that difficult. It's not a huge labor overhead cost involved in that. People that are working there are the ones that are bringing out the food. And so I don't see a harm in that. I think it'll be something that'll stick around.
Well, we're at Sanico. We are working on products all the time. We're really focused on the restaurant business right now. Such a large business, like you said. I do think there's still a lot of unanswered questions. From temp stations to daily automated disinfecting machines. We are working with a couple of companies right now for antimicrobial sheets. So these sheets are these clear sheets that we would be laying on certain high-touch areas. This antimicrobial sheet will just continually work to kill away any virus at all times. So there's going to be a lot of change, a lot of help Sanico could bring to the table in that industry, and we're looking forward to doing a lot with you guys.
That's great. I'm looking forward to seeing these new products. That's amazing.
And we're gearing it for many high-touch items, POS being one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge benefit. Also, personal handhelds for waitresses and waiters and bartenders, so they can just ring you up there. So a lot of things people are thinking outside the box in many different ways.
I think the biggest issue a restaurant could have when they open is somebody getting COVID within their staff, right? If they're not temping, somebody gets in, one of the staff members has COVID. The protocol is everybody goes home for 14 days. And in some states, I'm seeing that they have to close for a minimum of 24 hours. Some states are actually saying 14 days. What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean it's something that is being talked about a lot right now. If somebody like you said, exactly as you said, if somebody gets sick with COVID, they have to be quarantined, and your business probably will have to shut down to make sure that you have cleaned and sanitized and that it's up to standards for the guests to come in. But on that note, you have no idea who has been infected in your staff, which is why testing is so important. That's what is and should be the biggest push, is making sure people are able to get tests when they need it to find out if they've been exposed to the virus. But right now, testing is not readily available to everybody. Therefore, if somebody gets sick, Joe, I think what you said is exactly right. They have to go away, be quarantined at their home for 14 days, and the restaurant, in most cases, would have to be shut down temporarily. And I don't know what the time limit of the shutdown would be, but I'm sure it will vary from municipality to municipality.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, like I see in other businesses, and even in my office, I mean, we're staggering shifts. So we're not keeping the same people with the same people. And in case that does happen, and it could easily happen, because we have, the backups are in place.
Yeah, I mean, with a bigger staff, it'd be easier to do that. A lot of restaurants have a very small staff. So if you lose the staff, you can't open because you don't have a backup. So it's a little bit of an issue with people who don't have this huge network of people that they can call upon. And going back to our original point, if you have a staff that you can't even get to come back to work because they're on unemployment, it lessens the pool of people even greater.
So you pretty much, you have no choice but to put a plan in place.
You have to have a plan in place. Absolutely. You have to know, you have to be 2 steps ahead of everything. You have to be 2 steps ahead of the finances and ahead of the planning and the phases of reopening, those phases. And you have to have plans set up when somebody gets sick. Let's say somebody gets sick in your restaurant, and you have a responsibility as a restaurant owner to get them safely to a facility that they can get checked out. You can't just let them walk out of the restaurant to get everybody else sick. So that's a responsibility that you have as an owner, as a manager on duty, to make sure that person gets to a healthcare facility safely, and transportation is thought out on how they're going to get from point A to point B. Yeah. For the safety of the public, for the safety of your employee who's sick, and for the safety of your restaurant. So that's another step that you should have thought that a restaurateur should be thinking about now prior to reopen. And another one sheets that I'm working on.
I don't think a lot of business owners are realizing, their duties and what's coming and what they have to do as an employer. Some of the things you're saying you're 100% right. I mean, we haven't shut down because, we're considered essential in several of my businesses. And, to keep my employees feeling safe, I've had to, I've had to buy bicycles for some of them. I've actually had to move one employee closer to my office because he lived with roommates. The roommate said, if you get sick, you're out of this apartment. And, the kid had no other people to rely on if he got sick within the state. So I paid for his apartment. I need him, and I rented an apartment close to my establishment. It's just the things that we have to do for our employees right now.
That's right. And it's great that he has an employer that can provide that. I mean, and I think everyone should be thinking that way, Joe, because we do have a responsibility. And it's important that, people feel like they have options as well. So I think that's super important now as we go. I mean, there's a lot of confusion, and just restaurants specifically. There's a lot of information out there, and people are really confused on what to do. I mean, there's this financial thing we've been talking about, this PPP. I mean, how confusing was that? I mean, the regulations changed by the hour. I mean, the banks didn't even know what was going on. how can you expect a mom and pop restaurant down the road, that's concerned about opening their doors and freaking out about the fact that they're losing their business to understand this if the people who are responsible for it don't even know what's going on? That is still trickling down to today. People they're unsure of what to do. They're very confused, and it's just a confusing situation, very anxiety ridden, and they need people like us to help guide them in a manner that can help them reopen and help them feel safe and secure and comfortable.
I agree, Mike. I agree. And we haven't stopped, and we've been helping a lot of people everywhere. If somebody needs you, Mike, how do they get a hold of you?
They can call me directly, or they can email me.
That's great.
Put it down below. Mike, thanks so much, bro.
Oh, amazing, guys. I appreciate it.
So much.
Mike, we're going to do a lightning round with a few questions just to see who Mike Naselli really is.
Great.
Up for it? All right, great.
Mike, what are you looking forward to most after this quarantine's over?
Going to a restaurant and having a meal and a drink.
Am I coming?
Absolutely.
I miss going to the bar with you.
That's right. That's right.
I want to meet at this restaurant, wherever Joe got this from.
Yes. We're going to meet here. We're going to meet right here.
All right.
Mike, what most part of your personal life has been interrupted? Can't go see mom, can't go see something. That's like bummer.
Yeah. Can't go see relatives, no school. I always like to look at the silver lining behind that. Families together now, So, the tight family knit, your wife, your kids, you're seeing them all the time. But not being able to go and see your friends and your relatives, your mother, your father, that's a big problem.
I'm on a weekly basis, I'm driving past my parents' house and just ringing the doorbell. We're 6 feet apart with masks. It's horrible, but it's something.
Yeah, it's something. It's something. You got to worry about getting them sick. It's a terrible thing. It's like those old timers are like, we survived the Depression. This is worse. Because we can't be with our family.
Yeah,
we can be with our tight units, but what about our extended family? What about our immediate family that we, so it's like, it's just the mental game is crazy.
It is. It's certainly crazy. So during this quarantine, have you picked up any hobbies? What are you doing?
Well,
Is your house all painted?
Right. A lot of the honey-do list has been the things, the check marks have been checked off. And yesterday we got a puppy.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, what kind of puppy?
An Australian Labradoodle.
Yeah, awesome. I hear it in the back now. He's like, it's me. Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have gotten puppies.
Oh yeah. It's a busy time of year for them.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.